The story of Shedeur Sanders is no longer just a tale about a promising young quarterback trying to prove himself in the NFL. It's becoming a symbol, a microcosm of how ego, politics, and something even uglier can hold back greatness. While the Cleveland Browns claim they're fostering a fair quarterback competition, their actions tell a very different story. And Shedeur? He's watching. He's waiting. But most importantly, he's ready. From the moment he stepped into training camp, it was clear that Shedeur Sanders wasn't just another rookie. He had the composure of a veteran, the arm talent of a first-rounder, and a calm intensity that made his reps look like art. But to the Browns front office, particularly owner Jimmy Haslam, he was still the fifth-rounder. And worse, he was Andrew Berry's idea. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. See, that's where the story starts to turn. Berry, the general manager, saw something. He knew Shedeur's tape didn't lie. He knew the pocket presence, the anticipation, the leadership, all of it translated. But Haslam didn't want the pick. He thought it would be too much noise, too much pressure, and deep down, maybe too much change. Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't come quietly. He arrives with legacy, swagger, and a name that carries both weight and expectation. And for some front offices, that's threatening. It wasn't long before whispers started. Shedeur was being given reps because of his name. He was only getting attention because of his father. Never mind that the tape showed otherwise. Never mind that, day after day, he outplayed Dylan Gabriel and looked sharper than Joe Flacco. He was still treated like the outsider, like he hadn't earned anything. And it started to wear on the team, because players see through that. Myles Garrett and Jerry Jeudy aren't fools. They know talent when they see it. They know when a quarterback commands a huddle versus when he's just managing it. And Shedeur, he commands it. That's what real leadership looks like. But the Browns wouldn't budge. The rotation stayed the same. Gabriel kept getting first-team reps. Shedeur got shuffled in with backups, handed plays that were doomed from the snap, and then evaluated like it was a level playing field. It wasn't, and everyone knew it. That's when the conversation turned from coaching decisions to something more uncomfortable, race and perception. Because when a young black quarterback with a famous last name enters the league, the assumptions are louder, the scrutiny is sharper, the margin for error is thinner, and the excuses for benching him easier to manufacture. Meanwhile, Berry, the GM who believed in Shedeur, is now being painted as a fall guy. Convenient, isn't it? When the quarterback room gets questioned, when the fan base starts asking why the best performer isn't climbing the depth chart, the blame shifts to the guy who pushed for him in the first place. It's not subtle, and it's not new. We've seen this script before. But what the Browns didn't count on was Shedeur's resolve. He's not just here to play football. He's here to change the narrative, to dismantle the stereotypes, to remind every GM, every owner, every coach that talent doesn't need permission to shine. And he's doing it without whining. No cryptic tweets. No passive-aggressive interviews. Just focused work. Quiet dominance. Day after day, building a case they can't ignore. The numbers speak for themselves. Higher completion rate. Better red zone execution. More command in the pocket. Fewer turnovers. And yet, he remains buried. At some point, it stops being about evaluation and starts being about fear. Fear of what it means if they hand the keys to someone they never planned for. Fear of accountability. Fear of admitting that the fifth rounder is outshining their third-round darling. And yes, fear change. Because Shedeur represents a different kind of quarterback. One that doesn't just fit into a box. He creates his own lane. He brings culture with him. Confidence. Vision. Business savvy. And if you're not secure in your structure, that can feel threatening. But that's not Shedeur's problem. His job isn't to make ownership feel comfortable. It's to lead, to win, and to prove every time he steps on the field that he belongs. Eventually, the Browns will have to make a decision. And if history is any indicator, they'll probably make the wrong one first. That's what happens when politics gets louder than performance. But Shedeur Sanders doesn't need their approval. he's already building something bigger. The endorsements, the fan base, the tape, it's all coming together. And when he finally gets his moment, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere smarter, it won't be about revenge. It'll be about validation. Because they didn't believe. And he did. The pressure is building, not just in the locker room, not just in the media, but within the Browns' own infrastructure. And at the center of that quiet storm is Shedeur Sanders, the overlooked, the underestimated, the fifth rounder they try to treat like a developmental piece, but who refuses to shrink himself into their projections. And the tension? It's starting to show. Assistant coaches have begun exchanging side glances during drills. Players are whispering between reps. Even beat reporters, normally buttoned up when it comes to front office politics, are starting to hedge their tone, dropping hints in press conferences, writing between the lines in practice recaps. You can only spin a fair competition line for so long before people start asking for receipts. Shedeur's tape is a receipt. And the Browns? They're stuck. Paralyzed by a decision they know they're getting wrong, but too stubborn or scared to fix. Dylan Gabriel, to his credit, hasn't asked for this mess. He's a guy trying to figure out his game, fighting to belong in a league that moves faster than college ever did. But he's being pushed into a spotlight he hasn't earned, and the weight of it is cracking the seams. It's not just the overthrows anymore. It's the body language. The hunched shoulders after a failed red zone drill. The too long explanations in post-practice media scrums. The mounting realization that maybe, just maybe, he's not the guy, and worse, that everyone around him already knows. And Shedeur, he doesn't need to say a word. He just shows up, handles his reps, and walks off the field like a man who's already calculated the long game, because he knows what they're afraid to admit, that you can't coach charisma, you can't scheme leadership, and no amount of draft status will make someone QB1 if the locker room doesn't buy it. The irony is almost poetic. A team that has burned through quarterback after quarterback for over a decade, a team that has begged for consistency, leadership, and star power, finally stumbles into a player who has all three and still finds a way to push him aside. Why? Because he didn't come with the right draft grade? Because he carries a last name that makes the franchise nervous about media exposure? Because admitting he's better would mean confronting the failure of their own process? Take your pick. The result is the same. They're losing him. Not physically yet, but emotionally, energetically. The longer they delay, the further Shedeur drifts from seeing this place as a long-term home. And you better believe his camp sees it too. Behind the scenes, the phones are lighting up, not with trade demands, but with curiosity. Other GMs, other execs, people around the league who can read between the lines and know what a quarterback controversy looks like before it becomes a headline. They've seen the stats. They've read the tweets. They've watched the footage leaked by fan pages showing Shedeur threading lasers in 11 on 11 drills while Gabriel airmails routine throws. And they're wondering, why is Cleveland still forcing this? That's the part ownership can't hide from. This isn't just about internal evaluation anymore. It's public now. It's becoming a credibility test, one that the fans are closely watching. Because Cleveland fans aren't passive. They're loyal. They've been through more quarterback trauma than most franchises could survive. So when they see something real, something different, they cling to it. And Shedeur Sanders? He feels real in a way no quarterback here has felt in a long time. He's not just a player. He's a brand, a movement, a cultural presence. And that terrifies people who still think football is about XS and OS alone. But this league, it's not just a sport anymore. It's a media ecosystem. It's charisma meets composure meets competitiveness. You can't hide a star in 2025. And Shedeur is a star. And yet, here we are, a franchise with a history of misfires, once again tripping over its own pride. It's almost tragic, really. Shedeur doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't even need to be a starter right now. But he does deserve the opportunity to prove that he belongs. And the fact that he's not getting that chance, despite outperforming the competition, isn't just bad management. It's cowardice. Because giving him real reps would mean facing the possibility that they got it wrong. That the flashy pick with the lesser tape is being outshined by the kid they thought they'd stash and develop quietly. But Shedeur isn't quiet. Not on the field. Not off it. Not in interviews. Not in the way he carries himself. He's got the DNA of someone who expects to win, who walks into a room and makes you believe he belongs there. And if you think that doesn't matter in a quarterback, you haven't been paying attention. Confidence isn't a luxury for QBs. It's a job description. And while Dillon Gabriel is still searching for that confidence, Shedeur lives in it. So what happens next? If the Browns have any sense, they'll rip the Band-Aid. Stop pretending the reps are even. Give Shedeur the shot he's already earned. Let the locker room breathe again. Let the fans rally around someone who's actually making plays. But more likely, they'll double down. They'll keep Gabriel on a short leash, keep Flacco in the mix, and keep Sanders simmering just below the surface. Too good a cut, too threatening to start. And eventually it will boil over. A drop game here. A brutal pick six there. A post-game quote that gets misread. A tweet from Dion. A camera shot of Shedeur watching from the sideline after another 3-and-out. It won't take long. The media cycle is ruthless. And the storyline? It's already writing itself. Because if there's one thing the NFL has proven time and again, it's that the truth always comes out. And when it does, the Browns won't just be dealing with a quarterback controversy. They'll be facing the full force of public opinion, player frustration, and ownership pressure, all of which could have been avoided if they just recognized what they had when it was right in front of them. The 5th-round pick, the overlooked talent, the underestimated leader. Shedeur Sanders didn't come to Cleveland to be a distraction. He came to win. But if they won't let him do that, someone else will. And when he finally gets that shot, whether it's this season, next season, or somewhere else entirely, you can bet on one thing. He won't just play for the win. He'll play to remind every single person who doubted him that they made the wrong call. And that's going to be a show worth watching. You can feel in the air at training camp. Something is off on the surface. Everything looks normal. Coaches barking instructions. Cameras clicking from the sidelines. Players going through the motions under the brutal August sun. But underneath all that structure, there's a hum, a tension, a quiet resistance that builds with every passing day that Shedeur Sanders stands on a sideline, holding a clipboard instead of commanding the huddle. Because this team knows. They know the wrong quarterback is getting the spotlight. And the longer it goes on, the more that truth eats away at the illusion of competition. It's not just about reps anymore. It's about identity, about legacy, about what kind of team the Browns want to be. Are they the kind of franchise that lets outdated egos and political picks shape the roster? Or are they finally ready to break the cycle, embrace the new era, and make a bold, correct call, even if it means admitting they got it wrong? Because Shedeur isn't just playing for a spot on the roster. He's playing for change, for proof that the system can evolve. That talent, true, undeniable talent, will always rise, even when the politics try to hold it down. But Cleveland, they're dragging their feet. They're hoping, praying, that Dillon Gabriel will flip some imaginary switch and make all the awkward conversations disappear. That he'll finally have that one standout practice they can point to and say, "See? We told you he was a guy." But here's the problem. It's not happening. And it's not going to. Gabriel, to his credit, is trying. He's in the facility early. He's putting in the film work. He's saying all the right things. But football doesn't care about effort if the execution isn't there. His timing is off. His reads are slow. He looks jittery in the pocket. His passes like zip. His leadership, lukewarm at best. And worst of all, the team doesn't rally around him. Compare that to Shedeur, who, despite fewer reps, continues to light up whatever drills he's given. Quick releases, smart decisions, velocity that cuts through tight windows, and a command presence that makes the players around him stand taller. That's not hype. That's chemistry. That's belief. And for a team like Cleveland, with its eternal search for quarterback stability, belief should be the one currency they can't afford to waste. But somehow they're squandering it. It's like they don't realize what they have. Or maybe they do, and they're scared of what it would mean to pivot. Because if they hand the offense over to Shedeur now, it means admitting they wasted a higher pick on Gabriel. It means giving control to a player with his own platform, his own spotlight, and yes, a father with a louder voice than half the league's coaches combined. But so what? That spotlight isn't a liability. It's an opportunity. You want to fix the Browns' image? You want to win over the national media, the fans, and the next generation players? Start Shedeur Sanders. He brings star power. He brings results. And more than that, he brings credibility. Because nothing about his rise feels forced. It's not the result of marketing spin or social media hype. It's built on performance, consistency, and the quiet leadership that real football guys recognize instantly. Even the locker room is starting to fracture under the weight of the charade. Veterans, who have been through enough dysfunction to smell it from a mile away, are losing patience. Every time Shedeur executes a flawless 2-minute drill, and then doesn't see a single rep of the starters, it chips away at morale. Every time Gabriel throws a pick in a non-contact drill and still walks into the next huddle, it deepens the divide. This isn't just a bad football decision anymore. It's becoming a cultural rift. And Cleveland can't afford another one of those. They've lived through Baker drama, through Deshaun scrutiny, through coaching shakeups, front office implosions, and fan mutinies. They burned every bridge in the quarterback room at least twice. And now, when they finally have a chance to build something real, they're dragging their feet because it doesn't fit the timeline on the whiteboard. But football isn't clean. It's not scripted. And the game doesn't care about your draft strategy or your 3-year plan. It rewards readiness. It rewards truth. And the truth, plain and simple, is this. Shedeur Sanders is ready. He's not just QB3 who's showing promise. He's QB1 who hasn't been given the keys. The moment is now, and the Browns know it. That's why everything feels so tense. Because deep down, the decision has already been made in the hearts of players. The coaches are just scared to make it official. And if they don't, Shedeur will move on. That's not speculation. That's reality. He's not going to sit behind mediocrity for long. Not with that level of talent. Not with that business acumen. Not with the doors already opening around the league for a new kind of quarterback. One who's unapologetically confident, relentlessly prepared, and brand savvy from day one. The NFL is changing. This generation of quarterbacks, they're not just athletes. They're CEOs. They're influencers. They're culture setters. And Shedeur is built for that moment. So why keep him boxed in? Why keep him under wraps like a secret you're afraid to share? Unless, of course, you're afraid of being wrong. That's what this really comes down to. Not fit, not experience, not maturity. Just fear. Fear that starting Shedeur means admitting someone in the front office got it wrong. That maybe Jimmy Haslam didn't see the full picture. That maybe Kevin Stefanski's system isn't built to handle someone who isn't a blank slate he can micromanage. But guess what? Winners adjust. The Ravens adjusted for Lamar. The Chiefs built around Mahomes. The Eagles stopped pretending and let Hurts take over. The good teams don't wait until the story writes itself. They take control of the narrative. They believe what they see. And what we've all seen. Shedeur Sanders is not only ready, he's waiting, watching, stacking his film, building his case. And when the call comes, whether from Cleveland or elsewhere, he'll be ready to explode. And the Browns? They'll be left explaining once again why they let the rail quarterback walk right out the door. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because they weren't. Shedeur Sanders isn't just sitting on the bench. He's making it very clear that he's studying everything. Every snap he doesn't get. Every opportunity passes way in favor of a quarterback who can't connect on a basic slant route. Every time a receiver has to contort midair to catch a wobbler from Dylan Gabriel. Shedeur is watching. Calm. Collected. Processing. He doesn't need to say a word because the silence is loud enough. That's what's unsettling the Brown staff. It's not that Shedeur's flashy. It's that he's efficient. He walks on the field like he's already done the work. Because he has. And he doesn't need their approval. He needs a fair shot. But that shot keeps getting delayed. They keep hiding behind the process. Development curves. Playbook depth. The usual coach speak meant to justify bad decisions. But the eye test doesn't lie. One quarterback looks composed, decisive, and unfazed by pressure. The other looks lost. And that's what this is turning into, a battle between performance and politics, between what's happening on the field and what the front office wishes was happening. You'd think they'd learn by now. Cleveland isn't exactly known for getting quarterback decisions right. The fans haven't forgotten Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield, or the Deshaun Watson chaos. So when they finally have a quarterback who looks like he could rewrite that narrative, the idea of letting him rot behind a shaky third-rounder feels like history repeating itself. But Shedeur's not built like the others. He's not a guy chasing headlines or looking for shortcuts. He's been trained for this moment since high school, under the most high-profile father coach in football. Scrutinized, picked apart, and yet still unbothered. That's what separates him. He doesn't just want to win. He expects to win. And that kind of mindset is contagious. Players feel it. Coaches feel it, even if they won't admit it. And fans? Oh, they see it. Go ahead. Look at Brown's Twitter. The fan-made edits of Shedeur in the all-brown jersey. The threads comparing completion stats from camp. The memes roasting Gabriel's 3-pick Tuesday. People know what they're seeing, and they're tired of Brown pretending they don't. Eventually, someone's going to have to answer for the way this competition's been handled. Whether the bad preseason showing, a media leak, or a blunt post-game quote from a vet who's seen enough, something's going to crack. And when it does, Shedeur won't need a campaign for the job. He'll have already earned it. All the Browns have to decide is whether they're smart enough to admit it.